Well, good morning and welcome to City Hall. We're going to get started with the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Robert Rose is the pastor at Chapel Hill United Methodist Church. He'll lead us in the invocation. Afterwards, I'll ask Councilman Greiner if he'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. But would everyone please stand?
Almighty God, it was a little over 20 years ago when this city was shaken by an act of evil, by those who had given up hope on the future, and those in their torment wanted to inflict pain on others. And in that face of evil, this city came together. It no longer mattered what the color of our skin was, what kind of car we drove, or even if we had one, what the size of our house was, what the degrees were that we held, or even what our faith was. For we came together as one people and showed a nation that differences do not have to keep us from having unity. And so today, I pray your blessing upon our mayor, our city manager, each of these council people. And I pray that whatever struggles are before us, that you remind them that we are one people. And those things that we sometimes allow to be barriers between us really don't matter, for there is more that holds us in common than separates us. And for everyone that believes that the future is not bright, all they had to do is just remember how hard it was to get here this morning and to look at the faces of these young basketball players from Deer Creek and from Mustang. In them, Lord, we invest ourselves, for in them is our future. Bless this city. Bless all of those who strive to serve us and protect us. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a handful of ceremonial items to take care of today. We're going to start, I think, commemorating the wonderful relationship that Oklahoma City has with Oklahoma City University. We have a couple of performers who are in here today. Abby, Cheryl, and Lucas Tarrant are going to be performing Almost Like Being in Love because Brigadoon is coming to the OCU campus. And they must be hiding. We're right here on the front. I couldn't find you in the crowd. Come on up forward. And we have moved the podium back. You have everything you need? All right. Afterwards, we'll hear a little bit more about the performance and how we can get tickets for this week.
Turn it up just a little bit. Not used to this. We're used to a piano. Maybe the sun gave me the power, for I could swim like Loman and be home in half an hour. Maybe the air gave me the drive, for I'm all aglow and alive. What a day this has been, what a rare mood I'm in. Why, it's almost like being in love. There's a smile on my face for the whole human race. Why, it's almost like being in love. like a bell that is ringing for me. And from the way that I feel when that bell starts to peal, I could swear I was falling, I would swear I was falling. It's almost like being in love. When we walked up the break,
not a word did we say. It was almost like being in love. But your arm linked in mine made the world kind of fine.
it was almost like being in love.
All the music of life seems to be
Like a bell that is ringing for me. And from the way that I feel when that bell starts to peal,
I would swear I was falling.
I could swear I was falling. It's almost like being in love.
That was, let me catch my breath. That was unbelievable. Thank you all so much for coming down and doing that for us this morning. And I know Brigadoon starts this Friday.
I didn't plan this, so it opens this weekend. It's Friday through Sunday. Abby and I will be performing Saturday evening at 8 p.m. If you want tickets, you can just call the school. It's 405-208-5000 and just ask for tickets to Brigadoon.
That's great.
Thank you so much.
I know there's going to be a great crowd out there. Let's show our appreciation one more time, acknowledge the talent. Thank you so much. That was great. Yeah. That was something. All right, and we also today are going to launch the Festival of the Arts. And we have, let's see, Lewis and Betsy and Peter, come on forward. We have a proclamation. I'll ask the clerk to read it as we get settled up here.
Whereas the 49th Annual Festival of the Arts, produced by the Arts Council of Oklahoma City, will officially open on Tuesday, April 21st for 6 days of exciting visual and performing arts activities. Whereas the Festival of the Arts is recognized nationally as one of the most spectacular fine arts festivals in America, featuring more than 144 visual artists, live entertainment on 4 stages, delicious local food, and activities for all ages. The Arts Council of Oklahoma City is continuing its commitment to make the Festival of the Arts a sustainable, zero landfill event by utilizing recyclable and combustible materials and promoting eco-conscious practices. Receptacles for recycling and composting will be available all across Festival of the Arts grounds. Whereas 2015 Festival of the Arts co-chairs Betsy Brunstetter and Lewis Price lead a team of more than 40 different committees and 5,000 volunteers who donate their time, talents, and resources to produce the Festival of the Arts. Whereas the Festival of the Arts is Oklahoma City's annual rite of spring and focuses on the Arts Council of Oklahoma City's mission to bring the arts and the community together. Now therefore, Mick Cornett, the mayor of the city of Oklahoma City, does hereby proclaim April 21st through 26th as Festival of the Arts Week in Oklahoma City, and he urges all citizens to join in honoring the Arts Council of Oklahoma City, the volunteers, and the artists who take part in this event.
Let's show our appreciation to these wonderful volunteers. I just can't imagine trying to rein in 5,000 volunteers and raise all the resources that are necessary. But Betsy and Lewis, thank you so much for doing this for the community. And I know the weather is going to cooperate this week, as it always does. And I'm going to hand you all the microphone to let you guys give one final sales pitch about people coming downtown and being a part of it this week.
Well, thank you all. Thank you all. The city does so much to make this happen, and we really appreciate the fire, the police, everybody, the utilities that help us make this happen. We do have 144 artists just waiting out there. We open at 11 today.
We'll be there every night until 9 o'clock, 11 to 6 on Sunday, and we'd urge you to come. Bring your families. The event is free, and we also want to thank the City Council, the City of Oklahoma City, and all of the officials who've helped us make this festival. Councilman Stonecipher has promised to guarantee the weather for the rest of the week.
Thank
so
you.
we'll hold him to
Held
that.
personally accountable.
Absolutely. And we have a presentation to you.
Okay.
On behalf of the Arts Council. This is our festival poster by Carol Joy Shannon. It's a beautiful rendition of Hudson Avenue and the city, the beautiful skyline of the city.
It's beautiful. Let's show our appreciation one more time. It's beautiful and just, you know, symbolic of the incredible artists that are going to be in town this weekend. And Peter, nice job once again.
Thank you.
Yeah. And what type of crowds would we expect in a typical year of the Festival of the Arts?
Oh my goodness. People from all walks of life, everywhere in Oklahoma City and from all around the state, come to the Festival of the Arts every year. We have artists from 13 different states represented this year. We have over 20 artists from Oklahoma right here that'll be in the show. It's going to be a great, great show. And what a wonderful way to start our morning, having Brigadoon. A song from that show, just what a great way. That's a really good omen for a wonderful event.
And tell us the cost of attending the festival.
Well, I think the cost is absolutely nothing. So please, please come on down. And parking is not really a problem at all anymore in downtown Oklahoma City.
No, that's right. And you know, sometimes people think downtown that parking is an issue. When you think about when you're coming to the Festival of the Arts in the evening or on the weekend, think of all the free parking that is available throughout the downtown area. So please don't let the hindrance of available parking keep you from coming down and enjoying the Festival of the Arts this weekend, or starting today. I shouldn't say this weekend. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, come every day. Some people come from the art, some people come for the food. Doesn't really matter. Just come down and be a part of one of the great arts festivals in the United States. And let's show our appreciation to our wonderful volunteers and staff.
Mayor, I was afraid you were going to forget to mention the food. I said, as a 3-time member of the food committee, I was going to say, please make sure everybody comes down and has lunch. We've got great new entrants this year. We've got all the old favorites, Strawberries Newport and Bodacious Burritos and
Indian tacos.
Kaiser's ice cream and Indian tacos. So come on down. It's going to be great.
Thank you all very much. We also have a couple of state champion basketball teams in this morning. I was trying to figure out who goes first. I think we'll just start ladies first. I think that's the only appropriate thing to do. So let me invite the Deer Creek girls basketball team and Coach Totsie Manning to come forward. We have a resolution. I'll ask the clerk to read it as we get settled up here.
Whereas the number 2 ranked Deer Creek Lady Antlers defeated top-ranked Tulsa East Central 42-33 to claim their 3rd consecutive title in the Class 5A Girls State Basketball Championship, the 5th in school history. Whereas the team went 23-3 for the season, winning their final 12 games with a stifling defense, which allowed opponents only 36.7 points per game. Whereas the Lady Antlers reached the title game by defeating Grove 48-45 and Collinsville 46-35. Whereas Coach Manning was impressed by her team's defensive play and their poise under pressure. Deer Creek's Sydney Manning was named tournament MVP and joined teammate Dakota Van on the all-tournament team. Whereas Dakota Van was also honored as the Oklahoma's Big All-City Player of the Year. Now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the City of Oklahoma City that they do hereby congratulate Deer Creek High School on winning the 2015 Class 5A Girls State Basketball Championship.
And girls, the suspense continues. We have to vote on this. So I'll need a motion. Second? All right, cast your votes. And it's official. The resolution has passed, and we are commending the Deer Creek girls basketball team and head coach Totsie Manning, 3 straight state championships.
It's not too bad. It doesn't seem real. We just had our banquet last night, and it's pretty exciting. It's an amazing group of young student athletes. We have a couple of valedictorians on this team, and we have 7 seniors who are going to be moving on, who are all part of our three-peat. And we just are so blessed to have these young ladies be part of our program. It's just been an honor to coach them the last 3 years. And what an amazing accomplishment that our team has been able to do. And we're just excited to be here today. I want to thank the City Council for having us, honor us today. It's been an amazing journey, and we're just excited to be here.
Well, and that is special for 7 seniors to have been a part of 3 straight state championship teams. That's very impressive. And before you girls were born, I was a television sportscaster. And Dakota, I covered your uncles and your father, Bryce, Bruce, Brento, Brandy, and Bryant. So it's an honor to have gone full circle, and congratulate you on being one of the top players in the state. And the rest of the seniors, and I know the underclassmen are coming back next year, hoping to make it 4 in a row. But congratulations. Let's show our appreciation and congratulations. There you go. There you go. And now I'll ask the boys from Mustang to come forward, and head coach Terry Long. And I mean, Coach, this is an impressive looking team, and they don't even have a ball in their hands. I mean, let's show our appreciation and show our congratulations to the Mustang boys. We have a resolution. I'll ask the clerk to read it.
Whereas the Mustang Broncos varsity basketball team defeated Edmond Santa Fe 93-54 to take the title in the Class 6A Boys State Championship, the first in the school history. Whereas the team recognized as an offensive firepower completed their season with a perfect record of 28-0, a rare achievement in the state's largest class, only done before by Tulsa Union in 2012, Norman in 1990, and Putnam City in 1972. Whereas the Broncos made it to the title game by defeating Broken Arrow 76-45 and Edmond Memorial 60-50. Whereas the title comes for Coach Terry Long after only his 2nd year at Mustang. He previously coached 3 championship teams while at Douglas High School in Oklahoma City. Whereas Mustang's Aubrey Johnson was named tournament MVP and joined teammate Jacoby Long on the 6A All-Tournament team. Now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the City of Oklahoma City that they do hereby congratulate Mustang High School on winning the 2015 Class 6A Boys State Basketball Championship.
Let's show our appreciation to these young men. And, Coach, I know you've been down here before with your teams at Douglas. That this going undefeated is a very special feat, and congratulations, boys.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having us. It's a special group of young men. I've said it several times. We'll celebrate our banquet tonight, but to have a great group of young men that kind of gave themselves, humbled themselves. We had kids that started. It's actually my 3rd year, and we had a couple of seniors, and they always talk about seniors and seniors leading a team, and every one of our seniors sacrificed. You know, we've had one that started for the last 2 years, came off the bench, had no problem. And I think he set the tone, Jeffrey Hightower, who will attend Oklahoma Christian University. But never was in our plans to go undefeated. Definitely was a plan to win a state championship. The only time undefeated really matters is when you get to the state tournament. So extremely proud, great group of young men with us today. And our challenge is that we can follow Deer Creek and come back next year and be state champions again. But thank you.
Winning the state finals by 39 points is a pretty special achievement. Let's show our appreciation one more time. Incredible. Just incredible. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. Thanks very much. Congratulations. Congratulations. You bet. Congratulations. Congratulations. You bet. Congratulations. Congratulations to you. We will need to vote on the Mustang resolution. I know a lot of these young men live in Ward 3. Larry, you want to make the motion? All right. Cast your votes. And it passes unanimously. We're on item 3A of the council agenda, and we have Roy Williams here, the president of the Greater Oklahoma City Chamber of Commerce, who's going to give us his quarterly update. Good morning, Roy.
Good morning, Mayor. Mayor, members of council, Mr. City Manager, thank you for inviting me here. You've put me in a weird position, though. This is a pretty difficult act to follow.
Yeah, I bet.
What a great group of individuals from A to Z on all this. Great time to be in Oklahoma City. I've got about a half a dozen things I just want to quickly mention to you, and then be happy to take any questions in the event you have any. Beginning first with sort of the overarching Tinker military aerospace. Those of you who may not know it, we have a change in leadership coming out at Tinker Air Force Base. Lieutenant General Bruce Litchfield will retire in June. He will be replaced by General Lee Levy, who will become the new commander of the Air Force Sustainment Center. Actually, General Levy will get his third star on June the 2nd in Washington, D.C., and on June the 5th, the actual change of command will occur and will be General Litchfield's last day. And he has been a tremendous partner to this community, as all of you know, and in fact, I heard him the other night making some comments. They have actually saved the Air Force operations in excess of $1.4 billion through efficiencies that he has initiated out there. So you'll be invited to some of those events. I encourage you to attend. We were fortunate this last week to be in Washington, D.C., and had the chance to meet with General Levy. He actually is not new to Oklahoma City. He served out here in the early 2000s. And he also is married to an Oklahoman, so it's nice to have someone coming in who has real ties to Oklahoma City. Work is ongoing in preparing for the former BNSF yard for construction for the K-46 maintenance facilities. Actually, if you go out there right now, you'll see them removing railroad ties to begin the early phases of construction that will actually get underway this summer, and that will be the beginning of about $500 million in construction over the next 3 years. As well, related to aerospace, Boeing continues their growth in our market. They are adding about 65 people a week in our market right now, which is something we are helping them with, because a lot of them are recruitments to the market. And this shows just further diversification of what's going on in our economy. Part of the work, too, at Boeing is the creation of a new research function, and that will be both for military and for commercial aircraft. They have announced they're starting with 50 employees, and we anticipate ongoing growth of this really high-paying, important facility that will be coming out of the ground shortly. I mentioned being in D.C., but our legislative focus is certainly not just in D.C., it's also at 23rd and Lincoln, and we have sustained really significant efforts to protect job creation incentives, as well as the historic tax credit bill that Oklahoma City has actually used a number of times, so our diligence will continue in doing that. A little economic update. For the month of February, Oklahoma City MSA unemployment rate has been announced at 3.6%, which improved from the previous month of January of 3.7%. The OKC Metro is now the second lowest has the second lowest unemployment rate of any large metropolitan area, meaning over 1 million population in the country. We're only trailing Austin, Texas, which is at 3.4%. Oklahoma City has enjoyed the lowest unemployment rate for 27 out of the last 50 months, which is pretty significant. We have been among the 5 lowest unemployment large metros for over 4 years. Nationwide, jobless rates were lower in February than a year earlier in 95% of all metropolitan areas, including Oklahoma City. So while Oklahoma City has been impacted by the decline in oil prices, we continue to benefit from what's going on national and the strength of the national economy. We also continue to track oil and gas layoffs locally. Public announcements that we have tracked for oil and gas companies in the metro, layoffs have been 642. We recognize this really isn't a comprehensive total because of some small company announcements that might occur that will never hit the news, and sometimes contract workers are not necessarily reported in the same way either. But as you've read, worldwide, oil and gas companies have announced plans to lay off more than 100,000 workers, and at least 91,000 layoffs have materialized thus far, mainly in the oilfield services and drilling area. We are seeing larger layoffs statewide than in the metro and in Oklahoma City. And that too, while it does not directly affect employment, can have an economic impact, lower retail sales and lower spending in the metro from visitors. As we continue to hear about the struggles of the oil and gas industry, it helps to recall that the metro has really had an unprecedented run of good fortune. Our economy has grown by 60% over the last decade, and we've added more than 150,000 people to our market. So we can't ignore the fact that in short term, the oil industry is entering a down cycle, and that economic growth has begun to slow a bit, but also shouldn't forget that in the long run, Oklahoma City remains a great place to live, work, and to start and build a business. The other thing of note too is our middle class job creation. We're ranked 5th in the nation in terms of increases in per capita income and overall strength. So that's put us in a better position as well to weather cyclical downturns in energy. Moving on about our economic development pipeline, our economic development team is currently working 25 individual projects in our pipeline. Those 25 represent the potential of over 6,000 jobs and over $1.4 billion in potential capital investment. We're optimistic that our region is in a good position to win some of these. We never win all of them. And since the national economy is improving, we've noticed that the number of projects in our pipeline has gone down somewhat, but we see that the companies are much more serious and much more committed to making a decision and in a shorter period of time. We've also hosted a number of community visits by corporations who are considering putting operations in Oklahoma City. And while we're viewed very positively and we receive really good comments, the one issue that continues to come up is fewer real estate choices, not only land, but building. We know there's a couple speculative buildings that are being considered. We're aware that a couple are underway, but that continues to be a major hindrance to us, is to have product on the market ready for occupancy. So we're continuing to work very closely with all of our partners and seeing what we can do to try to turn that around a little bit. We do also anticipate a couple of public announcements within the next month. A little bit about the tourism economy. Mike Carey is going to be here next month, so I'm not going to steal his thunder. But in light of some of the challenges, I thought it was a good time to review a little bit of the importance of tourism, events, conventions, leisure travel, et cetera, et cetera. The most recent studies that we have show that there are about 32,900 jobs in Oklahoma County that are supported by travel, by the hospitality industry. That translates into a $953 million annual payroll from travel industry jobs in our metropolitan statistical area. Oklahoma County has the highest domestic travel impact in the state in terms of expenditures, payroll, employment, and local tax receipts of any county in the state of Oklahoma. Travel employment is diverse in Oklahoma County. Large number of executive and managerial positions are here, and the average salary is $29,500. But the caveat to that is that takes into account the part-time employment that exists in the industry as well. And a good example are the people you see at the Chesapeake Arena. Pretty much during a Thunder game, those are all part-time employees. So those numbers, part-time employees, pull these numbers down. So if you were to remove them, that 29,500 number would be significantly higher. The other trend we're seeing, and it's a factor due to our low unemployment, is in newer hotels. Companies, the owners of the properties now are moving to almost all full-time employees with full benefits and not relying on any part-time workers. That's a major change in the industry, and that's another good sign for growing the employment base. Looking a little more broadly, tourism in the Oklahoma City metro generates about $158 million annually in state tax revenues and $84 million in local tax receipts. So this is an industry that matters. Last thing, we had about 500 students, college students, in kind of dicey weather conditions attend our annual career fair. All of the employers showed up, and most all the students who signed up showed up, so it was a very positive sign to us that even in inclement weather, people want to hire and people want to be hired. So that was a good sign. And to that end, our summer internship is gearing up. We expect to have upwards of 400 students enrolled in our summer program, and that's a great way to orient new talent to our community. Last thing, we're preparing for two very significant trade shows that we've participated in for a very long time. The first is Recon, better known as the International Council of Shopping Centers. It's the biggest annual show of retail and shopping center community, and Mayor will be going with us to that. And secondly is the Bio Show, the Bioindustry Organization show in Philadelphia. These meetings and these partnership activities for local businesses that we bring there are extremely important, generates relationships, and helps bring new jobs and investment to the community. So with that, I'll conclude and be happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Roy? All right, Roy, thanks and congratulations. A lot of good information in your report.
Thanks, Mayor.
Let's move to item 3D of the council agenda. It's appointments for the Port Authority of the Greater Oklahoma City area. All right, cast your votes. Passed unanimously. And item 3E is a resolution that would approve travel expenses for me to attend the U.S. Conference of Mayors annual meeting. Is there a motion? Cast your votes. It passes unanimously. We're on to item 4. It's the Journal of Council Proceedings. Item 4A is to receive the journal for April 14th, and item 4B is to approve the journal for April 7th. Any comments or questions on the journal? How about a motion then? All right, cast your votes. It passes unanimously. And item 5 is request for uncontested continuances.
Mayor, this morning we have some starting on page 8. On page 8, under item 9D1 and 2, that's PV 091 and PV 092. Councilman Stonecipher has requested continuance of these items for 1 week until April 28th.
So that's 9D, 1 and 2.
That's correct.
Okay, deferred until April 28th, all right?
Then moving to page 9, under item 9F1, 426 Southwest 32nd Street, request that be stricken. The owner has removed. And then under item 9G1, item D, 2312 North Youngs Boulevard, request that that be stricken. The owner is now secured. And finally, on page 10, under item 9H1, item E, 2312 North Youngs Boulevard again, request that that be stricken. The owner has secured.
Any other requests for uncontested continuances? All right, let's recess the council meeting, convene as Oklahoma City Municipal Facilities Authority. There are 3 items. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions on the MFA? All right, cast your votes. It passes unanimously. We'll adjourn the OCMFA, convene as the Oklahoma City Public Property Authority. 3 items. All right, comments or questions on the PPA? Cast your votes. It passes unanimously. We'll adjourn the OCPPA, convene as the Oklahoma City Environmental Assistance Trust. Just one item today, claims and payroll. All right, cast your votes on the EAT, and it passes unanimously. We'll adjourn the OCEAT, reconvene the council meeting with the consent docket. Okay, we have a motion and a second on the consent docket. Are there any individual considerations?
Mr. Mayor, 7P2.
P2, all right. All right, John, why don't you jump in on P2?
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to take the time out to point out this is again, an agreement between the City of Oklahoma City and Oklahoma County to do work on the streets of Northeast 50th Street from Westminster to Hiwassee Road. About a year and a half ago, there were two elderly women who came up to the council on the items from council and talked about the need to repave or work on Northeast 50th Street. And so this shows the continued commitment in the eastern part of Ward 7 to get things accomplished. And also, again, just want to thank Oklahoma County for their willingness to collaborate with the city to improve the streets out in the eastern part of Ward 7. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other comments or questions on the consent docket? All right, cast your votes. It passes unanimously. On to the concurrence docket, just 3 items today. How about a motion here? Okay, comments or questions on the concurrence? All right, cast your votes. It passes unanimously. That moves us on to item 9. These are items that require a separate vote. We'll begin with a series of zoning cases. The first is an ABC issue in Ward 8. The address is 10912 North Rockwell Avenue. Mark?
As you said, this is an ABC2 application. The applicant is Mr. Rick Myers. This was approved by the Planning Commission on March the 12th, and notice was properly published. I'm not aware of any protestants. Is the applicant here? I'd move for approval of the application. Thank you.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any comments or questions on 9A1? Cast your votes. It passes unanimously. Item 9A2 is an ABC issue in Ward 2. The address is 6200 North Robinson Avenue. And Ed, we have one person that has signed up to speak. We here, we'll bring them up. Jeff Penner, come on up. And Jeff, we will need your name and address for the record.
Certainly. Jeff Penner, 1496 East Interstate Drive, Norman, Oklahoma. I'm speaking on behalf of the Oklahoma City Hotel Association and Mayor and members of the council. We certainly sincerely thank you for your time and consideration on the applicant's today, his application. I can tell you that our applicant has invested significantly. We have a $10.5 million investment. Concerns the Wyndham Garden Inn Hotel on 63rd and Broadway. It passed the Planning Commission unanimously, and the building was originally in 1985, was open, so the lounge and bar have been there for a long time. The neighborhood is used to it, they expect it, and in fact they're having complaints that people are unable to get a drink right now while the hotel is open. We, again, sincerely appreciate your support in this, and then we'd also like to speak about the emergency if that is an issue. If that is the case, I'd like to be able to say a few words on the approach for an emergency.
Okay. Understood. Ed, how do you want to proceed here?
Said it had unanimous Planning Commission approval and no protesters, so I'd move for approval.
All right. Cast your votes. It passes unanimously. Now you're asking for the emergency. You want to give the reason behind that?
Yeah, if possible. I know that there's been discussion in the past about the emergency, and I certainly understand the reasoning for that and certainly can appreciate that. In this particular case, though, I think we have an unusual situation in that first of all, again, 0 protests were lodged. The hotel has been there since 1985. People expect the bar to be there. We have 16 individuals who will man the food and beverage department once we have the license in hand. For those 16 individuals, it means a great deal to be able to go to work immediately instead of waiting for another 30-day delay in that. The new owner has invested $10.5 million. He's very anxious to see a return on his investment. The hotel is a beautiful hotel. He's certainly done an outstanding job in the remodeling of it. And again, I just want to emphasize, it's been there for 30 years, and I don't think it's likely that the emergency is going to have any situations that's going to pop up. So we respectfully ask for the emergency. Thank you.
Certainly not in favor of an emergency. I mean, if anybody else wants to make a motion, but I don't believe that this is a public health issue, public security issue. It's, I think emergencies are for the public good, not necessarily the developer's good, or it's been 30 years. I don't understand the need, what 30 days, why we would need to invoke the emergency in this case. So I certainly would be opposed.
Okay. Anyone else want to make a motion on the emergency?
If the bar's been there for however long, then why?
30 years.
So why do we even, like, we didn't have an ABC overlay up, apparently. Is that right? Like, why? I mean, if the bar was there, then there should have already been the ABC, but what was the?
The existing bar was non-conforming. It was there prior to the ABC overlay zoning requirements, and then it closed for a period of time and lost its non-conformance, which is why he's here today.
I see. Looks like there's no movement on the emergency, but the...
Well, just so we can debate, then I move that the emergency be approved.
All right. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All right, we're voting on the emergency. Cast your votes. It requires 7 votes, and it gets 6. It's 6-2, so the motion fails.
All right. Thank you very much.
Item 9A3 is an ABC issue in Ward 6. The address is 1234 Northwestern Avenue.
Thank you, Mayor. This application also received no protests, and this is also an application that I believe previously had an overlay on it. I would move approval.
Second. All right. Anybody here to speak on item 9A3? All right, cast your votes, and it passes unanimously. Item 9A4 is a zoning case in Ward 6. The address is 1501 North Broadway Avenue. It's currently R4 General Residential, and it would be a C4 General Commercial District if it passes. Meg?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. This is an application that consolidates some property all into the same zoning classification. The property's all owned by the same individual, and so they're just requesting to bring all of their property into the same zoning category. There were no protests when this was heard, and it was approved by the Planning Commission. I would move approval.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second, and we're voting on item 9A4. Cast your votes. It passes unanimously. Item 9A5 is a zoning case in Ward 6. The address is 2808 West Lindsay Avenue. It's currently R1 single family, and it would become an I2 moderate industrial district if approved. Meg?
I think I see the applicant, or at least counsel for the applicant here. David, do you want to come explain a little bit about what we're doing here?
Be happy to. David Box, 522 Colcord Drive, here on behalf of the applicant. The applicant owns the property you see on the screen that's outlined, and he's actually selling it to the folks that own the property to the north. The folks that own that property to the north own and maintain and operate a towing facility that abuts that railroad track. What the zoning will do is allow them to expand their facility. The I2 zoning classification we are seeking is predominant in the area. We have already installed the appropriate site-proof screening required by the code. There were no protests at the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission did recommend approval, and we would ask for your approval as well.
Thank you, Dennis. And as I said, as you said, there were no protests approved by the Planning Commission, and I would move approval.
Second. All right, we're voting on item 9A4. Cast your vote. Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Item 9A5 is a zoning case in Ward 6 at 2808 West Lindsay Avenue. It's currently R1 single family. Am I reading the same one again?
Yep, same one.
Okay. Oh. Yeah, probably shouldn't do it twice. All right, let's move to 9B. This is an ordinance up for final hearing today. This did not get a recommendation from the Planning Department or Planning Commission. The address in Ward 4 is 12900 Southeast 29th Street. It's currently AA, and it would become an RA single-family 1-acre rural residential district if approved. Pete, we have one person that has signed up to speak.
Yes, I'd like to hear from the protestant first, if we could.
All right. Peggy Huff?
I have to speak. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay, let's hear from the applicant then.
Good morning, Mayor, Council, Mark Grubbs, Grubbs Consulting, 1819 South Morgan Road, on behalf of the applicant. What you have before you today is a 20.5-acre tract of land that we had submitted to Planning Commission to rezone and preliminary plat. Just a little bit of history that it was, when it went to Planning Commission the first time, the commissioner of the ward actually was in support of our application, but asked that we continue it for 30 days, I believe it was, to look at a higher density, because he knew of some other things that were going on in the area. Asked us also to meet with the city of Midwest City about getting water to our development. Went away, did what he asked, came back with the same application because it was not a favorable outcome of the meetings that we had. When we came back, we actually had a 4-3 vote on this, but there is, I mean, this is a definite product of this area. The comprehensive plan supports it, staff supports it. We actually, to the north in the city, have multifamily and commercial directly north in the PUD. There are other, within the mile, other 1-acre tracts. This developer actually has done another acre development, which the homes are very high-end homes in the area. It's a product that sells in the area. And so we're coming to the council to ask for their approval. We actually go back to Planning Commission for the preliminary plat on Thursday. So I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I actually talked to my planning commissioner last night about this. I agree with you. The preliminary plat, I mean, the comprehensive plan does look forward to this kind of development right south of 29th Street. What was the result of the conversation you had with Midwest City?
Midwest City, they do not support any commercial. They will support the some of the residential, but also the economics to go in order to bring water in that site, you have to do half acres. At a minimum, you have to do a half-acre development to bring it in and make it financially feasible. Also, the City of Oklahoma City Engineering Department is also currently working on another one in the city of Edmond, where Edmond's supplying the water, and you have to do a master meter. Those master meters are, $75,000 to $80,000 to support this site. So the financial and the timing to get that water to this site it was not in favor. I mean, it wasn't favorable.
Okay. Well, I'm going to move approval. When we did the southeast sector plan several years ago, this area, the area south of 29th and north of 240, out to the point where 240 and I-40 merge was recommended for this kind of development. Hopefully, at some point in time, we'll be able to bring water down 29th Street. With all the things going on at Tinker, I think that's probably somewhat likely that we will. And in order for it to all the valuable commercial property that's fronting 29th Street, which is still a state highway, I guess, we're going to need to service that at some point in time. So I'm going to move approval.
All right, we have a motion and a second. We're voting on item 9B.
Mayor, before we vote, the applicants, the protest is still here. After hearing what he said and what I said, would you like to speak? I don't want to. Okay.
All right, cast your votes on 9B. It passes unanimously.
I'd like to ask for the emergency. We're going to Planning Commission.
Okay.
If that's okay. We're going to Planning Commission on Thursday. It's just a timing issue.
I understand. Back to my reason why there's a protest, why I don't like emergencies. this person protested. If they chose to take the next step, which would be to file a case in court to try to stop this, we would cut them off from doing that. And I don't believe that's fair. That's my whole basis in not doing it, and I can't move the emergency. I'm sorry. I understand it would help you, but there's no way I can do that. It doesn't matter what she says. Oh, I thought you were talking to her.
All right.
I'm sorry. That's fine.
Okay. Any other motion on the emergency?
I can't.
We won't ask for the emergency.
Okay.
Withdraw my request.
All right, we'll move on to item 9C then. This is an issue that's going on in Ward 8, and this is to close a portion of a platted utility easement. Mark?
This is an encroachment case where there's a minor encroachment of 0.4 feet on the platted utility easement. It's an office building. On the Board of Adjustment, we called this asking for forgiveness. The office building has already been built, and the Planning Commission has recommended approval. There are no protesters here. Is the applicant here? Would you like to speak? No. I'd move for approval.
All right, cast your votes. Passes unanimously. All right, item 9D, 1 and 2 have both been deferred until April 28th. We're on to item 9E, and this is an ordinance that's being introduced today, and Doug Cupper is here.
Good morning, Your Honor, City Council. This is a bit of housekeeping. A few months ago, we took the river and Stinchcombe out of the close-to-home waters ordinances, and the Fish and Game Commission realized that we did not change the creel limits back to what the standards are for the state and open bodies of water, Hefner and Overhoser. So we're asking that the City Council approve this first reading so that we can realign the creel limits and size of fish that can be caught in these waters back to the way they were.
All right. So are we trying to get in compliance with state law?
Yes, sir.
Is
That's
goal?
the whole order of it.
Okay. All right. Cast your votes. This item just being introduced today. A public hearing will be set April 28th, and then a final hearing is scheduled for May 5th. Cast your votes. Passed unanimously. Thanks, Doug. All right, item 9F is a public hearing regarding dilapidated structures. It's like we have a couple of people that have signed up to speak. Harley Lusk. Yeah, come on up, Harley. We'll bring you to the microphone. We'll need you to give us your name and address for the record.
Harley Lusk, 1513 North Fond Shield. I have one for dilapidated, another one for abandoned. I'm just saying that that is still my home, and people don't knowingly let things get dilapidated or things, but I had some medical problems last year. June 29th, I was hospitalized for 11 days for PEs, which are blood clots in the lungs, and while I was gone in the hospital, someone broke in and stripped all the plumbing and electricity out of the electrical works out of the house. I do still stay there. It's still my mailing address. You know, I brought some mail, and I don't have a great income, but I would love to keep my house.
Yeah. So you're living in this house that we're looking at here?
Yes.
I mean,
no, that's not mine. That's not mine.
It's a different property. Can we see the property at 1513 Fonshill Avenue?
Yes.
Let's see if we can find a picture of that.
I'm there every night. But every time, it's like I work through 11, and every time I board it up, they go back. Yeah, that's mine. That's where they snatched off the bars. The roof is sagging.
Right. Well, you know, I'm sure your neighbors were at some point expecting you to make the repairs on this house. What can you tell me about the prospects of repairs being made in the
right
coming
now?
weeks?
I haven't. I've looked into trying to get a couple of loans. I've been denied. I'm going to try again with my credit union.
Mm-hmm. Well, Charles, is there a way we can help him seek assistance on some of these repairs? Do we have programs in place that might help Mr. Lusk?
Well, there are some programs that would be available to him. He'd have to apply, and we can get with him after council and give him those lists.
All right. John, what do you want to do here?
If you can continue to work with Charles, and also Charles, I'll make sure in the office that we get you some information about different city programs, different programs that the city is involved in to help individuals like you to make improvements to their property. Matter of fact, there are a couple of programs that come to my mind that the city has, especially in this area right here, and also Community Action Agency also has a program that the city also supports to help out in situations like this. But if you again can work with Charles, and we'll make sure also that we provide you that information.
That would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, in looking at the pictures, I mean, it looks like a sound piece of property, and I can see why you're attached to it. But in support of your neighbors, we're going to have to ask you to start making the improvements. So if you'll work with Charles and our staff, I think we can get it into a situation where it can be a productive piece of property for you and the rest of your neighborhood.
Okay, I
All right?
appreciate that.
Thanks very much. Just stay in touch with Charles and let him know about the improvements that you're making on the property.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
Charles, Rebuilding Together is doing some amazing work too, so you might
Yes.
suggest that contact as well.
Okay.
Rebuilding Together.
Okay. Gar Patterson?
Mayor, Council,
Morning.
my name is Gary Patterson. I'm from San Antonio. I'm a proud Oklahomian. Went in the military out of Douglas High School, getting out of going to jail, and went in the military. Retired in San Antonio after 26 years as an Army chaplain. So as I watch these young folks today think about my time there and coming back to this day, I'm reflecting on a history of being an Oklahomian, and so I'm glad to be here today. What brings me here today is a letter that I got last week in my mailbox about a structure that my family owns over on Prospect. And that family, my uncle died, left it to me and my 4 siblings, and I'm kind of the only one able to do anything about it. And so it's kind of been put on my structure, on my time structure to be able to correct things. As of yesterday, I have a roof that I want to put on that house to correct that problem, and so I have a bid for that. And depending upon what you say today, I didn't want to make a decision to go ahead and get it fixed, and I don't have that opportunity this morning, so I didn't know what the process was to tell them to go ahead and put a new roof on there or not. So I have a bid to be able to do that and can have that done probably within the end of the month or into next month and get that done. Today they are working on clearing all the debris from both pieces of property, so I'll have all of that done. There's one hole on the side that's a 2x2 hole that there's a hole in the structure. Can have that done today. So the bottom line, everything in this problem could be done by the end of the month to include the roof, and then that would leave me the opportunity to go on the inside and then to begin to work.
All right. Well, John, you want to just leave this on then? And
Yes, I want to leave this on, but Charles, can you explain, since he has brought in a bid and he is working, can you explain?
He has contacted our office and discussed putting on a new roof. And I'll talk to him after council. He'll have 30 days in which to start the process. Seems like he's well on his way, so he shouldn't be a problem in working with him.
All right, thank you.
all right, we're going to leave it on the agenda. As long as you're working with staff, you shouldn't have any issues. But we do need to see some improvement for the sake of the neighbors that live around the house.
Well, John, this will be a model in your community by 1 January. We'll be
All
off
right.
this whole thing.
We look forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And welcome home, Gary.
You bet. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, so we're let's see, about to vote on 9F. Is there a motion for the dilapidated structures? Cast your votes. It passes unanimously. And then item 9G is a public hearing regarding unsecured structures. Is there a motion there? We have a motion and a second. Anyone here hoping to speak under any item listed on 9G? All right, cast your votes. It passes unanimously. And then 9H is a public hearing regarding abandoned structures. Is there anyone here hoping to speak under any of these items? How about a motion then? Cast your votes. It passes unanimously. Item 9I is an opportunity to move into executive session. I understand we do not need executive session today, so a motion to strike would be in order. Okay, cast your votes, and that item is struck from the agenda. Item 9J, I understand we do need executive session. All right, so how about a motion to move 9J into executive session? Cast your votes. That item moves to executive session. Item K is claims recommended for denial. Is there anyone here hoping to speak under any item listed under 9K? All right, how about a motion then to deny these claims? All right, then cast your votes. It passes unanimously. Then item 10 is claims recommended for approval. Is there anyone here hoping to speak on this item? All right, how about a motion then on 10A? Cast your votes, and that claim is approved. That puts us on to item 11, which is items from council. And I guess we'll start with a resolution that we discussed last week expressing our support for the Oklahoma School of Science and Math. And we've been receiving information that the funding for that school is at some level of jeopardy out at the state legislature, and the council, at least at this point, we haven't voted yet, but feels strongly that this should be supported. And Meg, I know you've had a long involvement in that, and of course, Pete, you were on the council back when it was first established. Either one of you want to say anything before we vote on the resolution of support?
Well, I do have some great news, but let's vote on the resolution first, and then I wanted to
all right, Pete, do you want to say anything?
Well, just a little bit. I've made a promise to try to be less redundant this morning, so you guys have some appreciation how difficult that would be for me, since that's the way I do things usually. But I can't help but when I think about it, think about what we went through and the problems that were surrounded and the sacrifices this city made to have that facility located in Oklahoma City. You know, just for the purpose of going back and letting people know how it got here, is that there was a competition, a state competition to have it. The competition was between Oklahoma City and Stillwater. A very powerful state senator who later ran for governor headed up the Stillwater bid for it. And I headed up the Oklahoma City bid for it. Terry Childress was the city manager at the time, and it became something that Oklahoma City really wanted to pursue, to be in Oklahoma City. The university, Oklahoma State University, gave property. Oklahoma City did not have property where we wanted to put it, but we bought the grade school that was there and offered to give the grade school to the new facility if they'd locate there. We thought, because it was a math and science facility, that it couldn't be located any place in the state better than near the Health Sciences Center. And I think that's proven to be the case. Later, the Urban Renewal Authority owned property in the area as a result of the Harrison Walnut thing, and that property was added to the property that the city purchased from the I-89. And the result was that the vote eventually voted to place it in Oklahoma City. It has been a huge source of pride and for the entire state. When you look at where those children have gone on to, the colleges, the number of scholarships, the number of merit scholars that come from that place, it's amazing. And it is just something that the state of Oklahoma should not take lightly. Any diminishment of what it does there. It's a public institution. Kids from small towns and big towns all over the state go, and in order to keep it alive, it's my understanding that one of the proposals is to make it a tuition facility and bring children in from out of state. Which kind of flies in the face of the concept that we had when we did it. We wanted it to be a public institution. We wanted it to be available for children that qualified all over the state. Personally, it's important to me because I was there at the table when we were saying we'll do this, and Senator Shedrick would say, well, OSU will do this, and at the end of the day, the vote was to do it in Oklahoma City. And it's been, again, one little redundant thing. It has been something that we all should be able to take pride in. It's been a great addition to Oklahoma City and a greater addition to the state of Oklahoma. It's not dominated by children from Oklahoma City. It's dominated totally by children from the state of Oklahoma, and literally, I mean all over the state.
right.
Pete, I've had the privilege of serving on the foundation board for a number of years now, and I think a couple of things in this resolution are just important for people to understand. 60% of the students come from rural communities, but we have touched all 77 counties over the course of the 20-plus years that the school, 22 years that the school has served the state. The alums and graduates represent $40 million in economic activity a year. It's a huge generator of professional jobs, these high-paying jobs that GE and Boeing are recruiting for, are students that come from this population. These students don't have an opportunity in their home settings to get this kind of education. But it's not just on the campus. They have regional centers all over the state. And using technology today to a much greater degree, they're able to reach out across the state. But in the last 5 years, the state funding to OSSM has decreased by 22%. They've cut 30% of their faculty and staff positions. They're recommending for this year another 6.5% decrease, which is at least 5 full-time positions and threatens really the viability of the college. So the school's leadership has tried to figure out ways to increase revenue, and Pete addressed the tuition charge. I do want to be clear that they're only permitted to charge tuition for 10% of the student body. So it wouldn't be for across the board, but it would be a revenue generating source. And there are also the opportunities to do some summer camps and things. But I do have some really exciting news that's happening this morning. And the GE Foundation, General Electric, is actually in Oklahoma City today and tomorrow to host their worldwide board meeting. And there's a press conference that I think took place at 9 o'clock this morning. And the GE Foundation is donating $400,000 to a program that is called STEM Empowers OK. And the dollars are actually going to OCAST, but they will be developing a program for up to 50 students at the School of Science and Math in late July and launching an open innovative challenge this fall. They're going to invite students from grades 6 to 12 from schools across the state to share ideas and ways to build a better and stronger Oklahoma. Challenge will be led by OCAST, but housed at the School of Science and Math. It's an amazing partnership, and I think we've said before on this horseshoe that one of the reasons GE chose to locate its research facility where they did was its proximity to the School of Science and Math, and this announcement today, I think, just highlights and enhances the commitment that they have to the school. And so with this resolution, I just hope we can urge the legislature to focus on this fabulous school and our students and help advance Oklahoma.
And John, it's in Ward 7. You want to put in a pitch?
You know what? This site actually means a lot to me. And first of all, I echo Councilman White's comments and also Councilwoman Sawyer's comments. I can remember when that area was nothing but basically you had the school, you had a church, then kind of maybe 1 or 2 dilapidated structures. And I actually was baptized at the church right next to the school. So I have memories what it was like prior to. And I think that our city fathers and Councilman White and others had that vision of what that area could be. And so here we are years later, and we see that it truly was a major economic development boost to our city. So a couple of years ago after I won on a tour of it, of the campus, and to see what they are accomplishing there, to me, is outstanding. I'm glad it's not in Ward 4, and I'm glad it's not in Ward 6, but it's in 7 Heaven, Ward 7. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mark, do you want to say something?
Yeah, based upon the comments today and Pete White's comments last week, I want to go on the record as strongly supporting this resolution. and I'm very proud to be able to support it.
All right. Yeah, Larry?
I just have one question. I strongly support it. Is this what is really needed, this resolution here? Have we talked with the doctor about what would really help him in his efforts out there? And what concerns me is what we're saying we want it funded at its current level and if possible restore funding. Based on the other information here, there's a real challenge out there. What does he really need as far as material in this resolution, or is this strong enough? That's my question.
What he really needs is the support of the legislature to continue the funding and to restore their funding. They really need dollars to be able to fund staff. And so, you know, I mean, I think it is strong. And I think more than anything, he needs to get the word out. They have been doing a whole series of invites. You know, as Pete has said earlier, a number of with term limits, many of the folks out at 23rd and Lincoln weren't there and don't know the history of the school. And so Dr. Long has been hosting barbecues and bringing people onto the campus. There is strong philanthropic support for the school, but it can't do everything. You know, they're building a foundation, but it is a statewide public school, and they need to have their funding restored.
Is this really, you know, I mean, listening to everything, it'd be hard to be against the school, but what are the motivations behind the legislature not supporting it? I mean, is it just because they have a budget shortfall and this is low-hanging fruit, or like what is? I haven't been paying attention as much. I mean, is that?
I don't know that I've heard anything. I don't know that I've heard anything verbalized that I could repeat for you.
Okay.
I have some suspicions that probably shouldn't be brought up without some sort of validation.
Okay, but for the most part, it's just kind of a general that they're making cuts everywhere, and this is just another thing. Is that? Should I not have asked that question?
I won't go where you indicated you didn't think it was a good idea, but this is a public school, and it's important that we maintain public schools. The idea that we can just continue and we can make everything for those that can pay for it it just goes at the very core of what this country's about. And I have some serious concerns about why this happens, but the bottom line is it's an assault on public education. These kids go to school, they're from all over the state and don't have to pay to go. I mean, that's it. That's the bottom line. Many of them couldn't go there if they had to pay. And they have to pass all these tests and go through all this rigorous application process to get there. And we're talking about the brightest of the brightest. In fact, it was such a good idea that after the state did it, Oklahoma City did it. Oklahoma City has their own for Oklahoma, and it's also a public school. I mean, surely this is not the harbinger of class in science and math becoming a tuition school. I mean, I'd hope not. And I think we just have to stop and look at, is public education, does it have a value? Does it provide value to people that across the board, especially those that couldn't afford education otherwise? I just think we have to invest in that. And if Oklahoma City needs to invest in it, I feel kind of like this about the way I do about the Indian, the Native American Cultural Center. I mean, these are such good things that if other people don't want to take them over and run them, I mean, I think it's going to be up to us to do whatever we can do. And this is the first step in doing whatever we can do. I mean, they're vital to Oklahoma City. They're vital to the state of Oklahoma. We just can't keep chopping away at it and expect not to pay a price for it.
All right. Well said. Do we have a motion on this item? All right. How about a motion? John, you want to make a motion? All right. Second. Cast your votes on item 9A. This is a resolution expressing strong support for the continuing state funding for the Oklahoma School of Science and Math. It passes unanimously. All right, James, you have anything for us on Action Council? Ed? Larry?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank Doug Cupper and Terry Ash for coming out to the Windsor Oaks Neighborhood Association and discussing the future dream that the neighbors have for even improving further Jack Cornett Park in the next bond issue. The neighbors were very appreciative of their coming, and it just shows how dedicated our department heads and key staff people are in meeting the needs of the citizens. And I like Doug Cupler's final conclusion. Jim, you like this? He got up and he said, of all the cities I lived in and all the places I've served, Oklahoma City is the best city. And he repeated the word best about 5 times. And that's a compliment to your staff, and thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. All right, Pete?
I attended a public meeting at Capitol Methodist Church sponsored by Oklahoma Watch, I think the name of the organization was, that just a public civic discussion of problems that affected South Oklahoma City, and it was very well attended, and I would want to encourage them or others like them to set up things like that, because I think it's very important, especially to reach out to the Hispanic community. There were a number of Hispanic people there, and I think the outreach to the Hispanic community is important because as the fastest growing segment of our population, the opportunities there for them to be included. We need to make sure they understand the opportunities there, and I think that went a long ways to doing that, and I appreciate them putting that on. It's well attended.
All right. Meg?
Yes, Mayor, a couple of things. I did have the opportunity to attend that and participate in that program as well. I thought it was a very good conversation, and I followed up with the Dia del Niños on Sunday down at Heronville Elementary School, and there was a fantastic crowd down there. They've done a very nice job of organizing that event. I think this was the 3rd year, and rather than close Southwest 29th Street, which is such a busy thoroughfare, they actually moved it onto the Heronville campus and closed 30th Street and the streets surrounding, and it was a terrific event. This was a really big weekend, obviously, for Oklahoma City with the 20th anniversary of the bombing of the Murrah building. Mayor, I thought you and all the speakers did a fantastic job on the Sunday Remember ceremony. It was very well done. President Clinton, words were just great. The director of the FBI, I thought, really did a great job, and followed yesterday with the Reflections of Hope luncheon, and I thought it was very unique, and lots of people said that the honorees this year were the entire judiciary team, if you will, involved in the trials, the defense, the prosecution, and the judges that were all surrounded. They recognized 40 different individuals, and it was I learned a lot listening to the remarks. It was really an interesting event. I mentioned Rebuilding Together today. On Saturday, for the first time in Oklahoma City, they did a block build or a block rebuild in Class and 10 Penn. And so they took the block on 14th Street and Ellison, and teams from Boeing, Hartford Insurance Company, lots of different churches, took 10 or 12 houses in a single block. And I kind of liken it to our strategic neighborhood initiative, concentrating a ton of resources on one street. It made a huge impact. As I was walking down Saturday morning about 8:30, all you could hear were hammers. It was like music. It was great, and I think we'll see a huge impact. And congratulations to UCO. They did the ribbon cutting on Saturday for their boathouse down on the Oklahoma River, and so we've now got a 3rd boathouse open, and this one's particularly unique in that it has both a music venue like the Jazz Lab up in Edmond and a beautiful art gallery. So I think they're calling it Where Art Meets the River, and it's a really neat venue. So lots happening over the weekend in Oklahoma City.
Absolutely. John?
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. On last Friday, there was a tragic accident that involved students from John Marshall High School, and I just want to personally thank our police department, the major at the Heffernan Division and Heffernan Division for showing their compassion towards the students and the victim's family. It says something when a police officer can hug a student. It says something when a police officer can give a hug to a victim's family. And so again, I just want to thank our Police Department for showing compassion for the students at John Marshall, and also to showing compassion to the victims' family. On last week, the National Black Officer Law Enforcement had their regional conference here, and again, thank you, Mr. Mayor, for giving remarks, and also Major M.T. Berry, and also Chief City gave remarks. And what stood out to me at that conference was there was a law enforcement officer from Chicago who stated that Oklahoma City was not what he thought of. Oklahoma City was not the place that he thought of. He thought that Oklahoma City was this place where there was nothing to do, that nothing was happening. But he said, Councilman Pettis, I was wrong about Oklahoma City. He talked about being in Bricktown, and he talked about the canal, and he talked about the different restaurants. And so that made me think about, as we deliberate on where the new convention center is going to be, I just hope that we keep in mind that what value the Bricktown area has. And so I strongly believe that the convention center should be built in walking distance of Bricktown, because we have put so much money into the canal and to making Bricktown the entertainment district for conventions. So I just wanted to kind of put that footnote in. And then looking at the agenda item under section Oklahoma City Public Property Authority, how we helped out the Oklahoma City Public Tennis LLC. I hope one day that we'll be able to give greater support to the first T program, which is in Ward 7. So that ends my comments. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, John, thanks. Mark?
Just briefly, I received an invitation to the University of Central Oklahoma Chesapeake Boathouse opening, which Meg just talked about, and it is a world-class, state-of-the-art facility, and I think we really need to thank Rand Elliott, Mike Mays, Elliott & Associates for that beautiful design, and I think we need to thank Stan Lingo and Renee Lingo, the contractors that constructed it at Lingo Construction. They did an outstanding job. And then just briefly, I'm excited to attend my first Homeowners Association meeting in Ward 8 with the Summit Community Homeowners on May the 5th at 7 p.m. And we're going to be talking about MAPS 3 in the Northwest Senior Wellness Center, and I hope we have a big turnout.
All right, Mark, thanks. Let's see. We're on now to city manager reports.
And this morning we have Dwight Lawson from the Oklahoma City Zoo, and he's got a lot of activity going on out there. Huge attendance this spring, and new things, and he just wanted to bring you up to speed.
All right. Good morning. Great to have you down here, by the way.
Thanks. It's nice to be here. Appreciate the opportunity to give you an update on all the stuff that's happening at the zoo. I've been on the job for all of about 10 months now, so this will be a brief look back and some discussion about kind of what's right around the corner. I want to start off with an update on the animal collection, and I had really hoped to be here to start off by telling you that the 2 elephants that we were expecting from the Woodland Park Zoo in Seattle were settling in well by this point in time. But if you haven't seen the paper yet, after all that political wrangling and some legal wrangling, the animals did get on the road, but they were diverted due to a freak snowstorm in the Rocky Mountains. And so they are in San Diego right now, resting comfortably. They're doing well, and we're talking with Woodland Park and San Diego Zoo. The intent is still to bring them out here, but we have no definitive timeline on when they'll get back on the road, but we'll keep you posted on that. Next one, the rest of our elephant group here, our growing family, continues to do well. At 4 months old, Akara, the latest calf, has more than doubled her already impressive birth weight. She's now at about 750 pounds. And unfortunately, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, I don't have any birth videos of that one yet, but Make that available another time. Her older sister, Mei Lee, just celebrated her fourth birthday last week, and we had the birthday ceremonies over the weekend, and she was joined by about 10,000 guests to officially wish her happy birthday, so we had some nice weather for that. We've also had some other significant births over the last year, 2 gorilla infants. This is really a tale of 2 mothers more than it is a tale of gorilla babies. Kamina, who was born in August, was rejected by her mom. She had to be hand-raised by staff, which is a 24/7 kind of operation, a lot of hard work, not a lot of fun. She was sent to the Cincinnati Zoo to be integrated with another gorilla group there. They tried for a couple of months. That didn't work out. They sent her on to Columbus, and she has actually been integrated with a gorilla troop at Columbus and is doing just fine. Ruby, who was born here just a couple of weeks ago, is doing great. Her mom took care of her from the get-go, and so all that's going well, and they're out on exhibit and doing great. Other big births and small, we had an Asian one-horned rhino, Rupert, who was born last June as I was U-hauling plants and pets out here. He's now about 1,000 pounds, continues to do great. We also had African hunting dogs born in November. These guys were also rejected by their mother, and there's kind of an interesting story, which I think you saw played out in the press. They were raised by a retired service dog, a golden retriever named Lily from Wichita, who had a single puppy of her own about the same time. Her owners wanted her to have some additional pups to raise, and we needed a dog mom for a little bit. So she wound up raising 3 African hunting dogs as well as her own puppy, and they moved back to Wichita when that was all done, and the kids are doing great. So that's the major animal news recently, and all those babies and a lot of favorable weather combined to give us record attendance in 2014. We had 1.2 million guests come to the zoo, which is terrific attendance for this area in particular. And we are, I'm happy to say, on pace to do about the same this year as well. The continued development at the zoo is driving some steady long-term attendance increases. In the last 10 years, we're up about 50%, and we've essentially doubled attendance since 1990 when the sales tax funding went into effect. We're seeing, in addition to the physical attendance, we're seeing increases in our social media following. We have about 64,000 Facebook fans, 15,000 Twitter followers, and about 24,000 email subscribers, which has doubled since last year. You can see some of the trends, in addition to the major exhibits, some of the trends that we're working on at the zoo are to create more experiential opportunities that also serve as revenue-generating components, so things like the Stingray Bay, the touch tank and feeding opportunity, giraffe feedings, the lorikeet feeding in the children's zoo, and things like that. Did want to point out that of that attendance, the 1.2 million folks, you can see the mix up there. Roughly a third of our attendance is general attendance, a third is membership, and another third is free and discount admissions, which impacts our revenue and fluctuates from time to time, month to month, depending on what we're doing. Also, helping to support all the stuff going on at the zoo is the Oklahoma Zoological Society, or Zoo Friends. They're a big part of our success, and I want to recognize Dana McCrory, their executive director, and give on her behalf a couple of updates on a few things they have going on and where they stand. We're currently at about 27,000 member households, which is up 5% over this time last year. Their retention rate at 77% is enviable in the zoo world. That's really phenomenal. We did some recent survey work with the members and got a 99% satisfaction, or 99% recognize them as excellent or good in terms of their satisfaction with their membership, which is enviable again and well above benchmark average for other zoos, as is the 63% of the folks that say they join not just because of the value of the membership, but also to support the zoo's mission. So we really have an invested member community as well. Zoo Friends had a very successful capital campaign, which raised $4.5 million for the zoo hospital. That funded about half of that project, which I'll show you some pictures in a second. And they also throw a bunch of special events, which are not only fun, but generate some some very important revenue for us to help fund some capital improvements and a number of programs. And finally, they have a relatively new group, Zoo Troop, which is geared towards young professionals. It's about 20 folks, competitive application process to get in. And this group puts on a number of events and does some awareness raising and kind of the missing demographic of that 21 to 33-year-old folks that are out there. So if you know a young professional who might be interested in getting involved in the nonprofit world or something, please let us know. The zoo funds, part of what they support are some of our education programs. They generate about $50,000 a year in grant support that allows underserved schools and groups to come out to the zoo or to get a outreach program taken to the zoo. That's part of about 26,000 school kids that we see, field trips, formal programs, and things of that nature. So the education programs, the education mission of the zoo continues to impact a lot of folks. Zoo Friends is also important, as are some fundraisers that the staff put on to generate support for wildlife conservation programs, both globally and locally. We have 5 focal projects that we've supported for a number of years. Those include some projects in Kenya, Sumatra, Ecuador, but also stuff close to home with Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation. We've supported some projects both with staff time that Zoo Friends pays back. We've also hosted a branch office of DWC for the last 14 years, so it's nice to have those guys close by. And then some of the stuff that we're working on right now and into the future, we have a number of initiatives and capital projects and planning underway. The first is an effort to better understand our members and guests. Historically, we have very little information about our guests and how we're serving them, so we've started some data collection efforts through guest experience surveys, a computer kiosk that's actually at the zoo that we direct folks to, and we've initiated a secret shopper program as well. The experience and demographic data on guests and members are done through Maury Group. They survey a number of other zoos and like attractions throughout the country, and so we get benchmark information based on 12 other zoos that are out there and can kind of see how we're doing. In the secret shopper program, we do about 3 shops a month, and that generates a very detailed 17 plus minus page report about exactly what's going on and what guests think about us and who's doing well and who doesn't have their name tag on and things like that. These are just underway recently, and they've highlighted a number of things, some of which we already recognize. We have some issues around food and parking capacity things, which are kind of good problems to have with the crowds that we're having, and luckily some of the projects that we're looking at should alleviate some of that. Our major construction project is just wrapping up now. That's the Joan Kirkpatrick Animal Hospital. This is a beautiful, state-of-the-art, 22,000 square foot vet hospital. The rather unique thing about this is it also has a public viewing component. It's open to guests. They'll be able to walk into a climate-controlled atrium and look down into the surgery suite, the treatment area, radiology, and things like that, and have interpretive things to work with as well. This should open next month. We're currently moving in, and it's no small feat to stop one vet clinic and open the other one, over the course of a day or two. So we expect to have that open and operational next month, and we're actually doing the donor appreciation event this Thursday. Another project that we're working on is parking. Our capacity and the layout have been a challenge for a long, long time. So with the Science Museum currently altering part of the parking lot as part of their main exhibit right now, it's timely to kind of address the rest of the lot and look at flow and entry and capacity. So we've retained Lee Engineering. They're working on some conceptual designs right now. They did a circulation study over spring break and said, we can't solve that, so, but it gives them kind of a worst-case scenario to deal with. So we expect some concepts here next month, and we'll move forward after we get those. We're also working on our digital front door with a new website, which will replace our rather outdated and stale website that we currently have. This should go live in the fall. Not only will it look better, it'll be easier navigation, facilitate some online ticket sales, program registration, which currently lives in multiple areas out there in the ether. You see a company that we have is out of Memphis. They did the Memphis Zoo's site, and what you can't see in that is it's all video and streaming, so it's really eye-catching when it opens up. They're also doing a mobile app as part of this package, so we'll be able to push content to guests about what's going on and what's open, and that will hopefully alleviate some of the wayfinding issues that we're hearing about too through some of the survey work. And finally, the next major capital project that we have in the works is the second phase of the Elephant Project, tentatively called Sanctuary Asia. This was originally designed about 7 years ago when Elephants was designed. We've revisited that concept and looked to reduce cost and add some guest amenities that weren't part of the original design. So the new project will feature a 2-story restaurant out at the far end of the zoo where there's currently nothing, and add some additional elephant space and some new exhibits that focus on updated habitats for a lot of the key species that we already have. So Asian rhino, red panda, Komodo dragon, things like that, and we'll add a few new species as we go too. So we are expecting construction documents to be at 100% sometime this summer, hopefully by midsummer. And finally, after we get through that, some of the stuff that's a little bit longer down the road, we need to start planning some of the next capital investments following Asia, and these will focus back on kind of what are referred to as the older part of the zoo. We've built out towards one end, and we now need to go back and revisit some of these facilities that are lingering. This would include the existing pachyderm building, which will largely be empty when the rhinos move to the new Asia project. Island Life, which is kind of attached to that and is well beyond its useful lifespan at this point. The Noble Aquatic Center, or Aquaticus, really hasn't had a major upgrade or update since the 80s when it was put in, and it's having some challenges around life support and utilities and things like that, and it needs some work. And we also need to revisit the kind of the Africa area where giraffe and zebra and wild dogs and things are. That's getting aged, and hopefully those will all move down to the pachyderm area when we redo that as part of Africa and an event center. And in and around all of those projects, there are opportunities to kind of revisit our standing as a botanical garden, upgrade the formal garden components of the zoo and botanical garden, and really kind of make the entire experience much more consistent and attractive. And that's what we're working on. Be happy to answer any questions.
All right, comments or questions for Dwight? All right, congratulations. Thanks very much for coming down and explaining. All right, anything else under city manager reports?
We do have the hotel tax collections. Just want to point out that we're very close to target. We're less than 0.5% away from target. We're under target, but just less than 0.5%.
Okay. Citizens to be heard, William Gonzalez.
William Gonzalez, 801 Caroline Drive, Yukon, Oklahoma.
Morning.
Two things I want to talk about today. I was here about a month ago, or maybe a little longer, talking about the Open Public Records Act for the Oklahoma City Police, and I'll read it again. It's 5124A-8. And it says here on paragraph 3, a chronological list of all incidents, including the initial offense report, information showing the offense, date, time, general location, officer, and primary summary of what occurred. It doesn't say not supplemental. It says offense report information on the initial part. I brought this to attention to y'all. Nothing was done, so I called, and Mr. Boyd Fulton did what he was supposed to do. I brought this to him. He gave it to the police officer. The police basically told me, you don't like it, get a lawyer. The same thing happened when I said, you arrested my son for felony charges. It's on his record. I want it expunged. Get a lawyer. Well, I've been living in this state for 66 years. I've been a citizen for 66 years. When I grew up in the south side of Oklahoma City, U.S. Grant, my teachers, my Sunday school teachers, all told me that if you are brought something and you are proven to be wrong, you apologize, do the right thing. I keep hearing this Oklahoma standard. We stand up for what's right, the Christian way of doing things. I don't see it from y'all. Now, I'll read one thing here. I, Mick Cornett, do solemnly swear to affirm that I will support the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, the Constitution and laws of the state of Oklahoma, and the charter of the ordinances of the city of Oklahoma City. United States Constitution doesn't allow police officers to plant stuff on suspects. Oklahoma Constitution doesn't allow police to do that. You were brought it to your attention, police officer, police chief answers to you. This is your solemn sworn oath. From what I've seen, it don't mean nothing.
All right, any other citizens to be heard today? All right, we have executive session. We'll be back. Oh, did you want to come up? Yeah. Okay.
My name is Sonda Poisel, and this is my first time here doing something like this. But I have too many secret crimes happening to me. I've suffered rental intrusion since the year 2000 or 2001, and ever since then, I always have landlords barging in without knocking, going in, doing things in my residences when I'm not there. And now that I'm in Oklahoma City, I've been here since 2011, and I don't understand why the police take a month to a year to give me a case number when I report a burglary or rental intrusion, and then my personal belongings are being collected. And the last intrusion was a commercial burglary at Melrose Storage, and all my clothes got stolen. So I've been wearing these clothes since November 8th, but my luggage and my purse were taken, and the manager there that lives there 7 days a week and works 6 days says something like this hasn't happened for 17 years. So I don't know why each consecutive rental, whether it's residential or commercial, keeps being burglarized. Or if I don't notice anything taken, there's an intrusion, you know. So I've had my family photographs stolen and my childhood pictures and my digital camera out of Habana Inn when I was there, and Canon camera had the identity of the thief, or well, the person. There was a thief that left a black camera in place of my silver camera, and when I called Canon and gave them the black camera's serial number, I said, "Do you have the identity of who bought this?" And they said, "Yes, but you have to." Well, what we do is we fax or mail you an identification form, and the cops sign that, and we turn it over to the cops, the identity of that person that owned or bought that black camera. So Detective Wolliver told me that's going to have to be court ordered, and the judge isn't going to want to fool with that. And Detective Wolliver told me that my camera would be auctioned off by the city. And then I made unannounced visits to Detective Wolliver when he'd ask me what, you know, how he could help me, and I'd say, you know, I'd like to get that camera back, and he said, well, we can't because it's not yours, you know. And I guess he also said that the camera would be auctioned off for 50 cents by the property room. And I went to the property room, and they said, we're not going to fool with auctioning off something, you know, a dented camera, and we have to hold stolen property for 5 years. And so I don't really know what's going on these constant intrusions and whoever it is in secrecy that's going after my personal information. It wasn't until a few months ago I got a case form for a crime that happened in February in which I was hollering and creating a scene on 49th in Western for someone to call the police. And when I checked for the, people were like looking around losing interest. But when I asked about the status, it wasn't entered into the police database. So I need some help. And I talked to Lieutenant Beck, who's in charge of...
Chief McDonald just came into the chambers, and if you'd meet with Chief McDonald, who's standing right there, he can help you through this.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Thanks very much. We have executive session. We'll be back.